welcome back. Welcome to the podcast. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're having a good day, evening, or night.
Hey,
Hello.
everybody. Good to be
Um,
back.
if you hear any mild low rumbling on my end, it is due to either the heater at my feet or the people who decided to mow the lawn at this exact time. So I apologize.
Okay. And if you hear any rumbling at my end, it's my stomach because I'm getting hungry.
Okay,
So,
so we have a couple things we're going to talk about.
yeah, I wanted to bring up um, your special date
Oh
and
yeah.
the King's March in Manhattan. We had hundreds and thousands. We had thousands of people marching here in Florida, which is an anomaly because this is predominantly a Trump state.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's how you know real change is happening because you got Floridians going and marching.
Yeah, so I'll leave the floor open to you. I want you to tell us a little about your date with your girlfriend and how it led to the 100,000 King's March.
Yeah. So um March was planned for the 18th. Um Across the country and even places outside of the country, like in global areas. I believe in the UK there were marches as well. Um I forget how many locations. I think it was like 2,500 locations or some crazy number like that. And the estimated number of people who protested, who went out and protested, is something like 7 to 8 million people on that day. And so Saturday, I uh Catherine wanted to surprise me with a fun date because she just wanted to take me out and do something because I've been she wanted to just go out and do something. And I was like, perfect. Because she was like, oh, I want to go into the city. I want to do something. I was like, oh, perfect. Because I kind of wanted to go to this protest. And so we get there. We roll up to whatever it was, like 43rd, 44th. It was right near Times Square. Well, we get in through Penn, but we subway up. And I mean, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people marching. Um, and we stood, hung out, looked at the signs just to look at it and see people's creativity, and then we joined and we walked down to like 14th. Um, and it's so interesting because there's a lot of conversation around these types of protests because there are people who say they're useless because they're not actually invoking any change, they're not overthrowing anything, they're not um, physically doing anything. It's just basically a march, and it's just people like hanging out. And then there's people who disagree with that. I think I disagree with that because for a good chunk of time I was considering protests and marches to have to be about the threat of a strike, right? That's what I always thought the protests were supposed to be, is that you're protesting because you're letting them know if if you don't change, all of us are going to strike. That can be one way. That can be a usable um, direction to go with protests. But another aspect of protests, which is equally important, is it builds community. It builds and strengthens the core group of people who will be willing to strike and willing to enact change later on when it's needed. Um, so I think even with a march or a protest like this, it is equally important that it occurs regardless of whether it was to physically do something or just to get people out there, because it gets people talking about it. It builds the networks of people who are trying to do more. It is the first step and the sort of front door, the open gate to getting into more and doing more. Um, and I think it's overall healthy and a really good thing. And it also just brings up morale. It reminds people that like because a lot of the media right now, a lot of n- mainstream media, legacy media, like the main news channels and stuff, love to talk about what the GOP is doing wrong, how the Republicans are gaining more power, and how they're continuing to sidestep checks and balances. So having these protests are important because it brings up that morale and reminds people that there are still a lot of people that disagree with this and that it realistically is growing and that the news is skewed. Surprise, surprise. I don't know if this is your first time coming across a news article. The news is skewed.
Yeah, well,
So,
I found that because I'm surrounded by people who love Trump, that they found that, I don't know if this is the correct word, that this march is concentric, meaning that where were these people who are so uh, against what's going on? Where were they when they had a vote? Because if all these people would have voted against Trump, maybe he wouldn't have been president, you know.
so yeah, so and that comes down to a few things. One, he didn't win by like 100 million votes. He I mean, granted, the fact that he won is still not even 100% here. There's about 5 states that are investigating multiple machine voting red flags, which we can discuss in a minute if you want. But um, he won by I don't know what it was. It wasn't that far of a margin. Um, See if I can pull it up real quick. He won by, come on. He won by, according to Associated Press, it was 2 million votes.
Nah, it can't be right.
2 million. I'm looking at it.
Nah,
Seven,
okay.
Kamala Harris got 75 million, 19,617, 48.4%. He got 77,304,184, 49.9%. She
Yeah,
got 226, he got 312.
that doesn't cover all the voters, I don't think.
It does.
Really?
That's all the voters who voted for Kamala or Trump. That doesn't include the people who voted third party, who wrote in their own, and that's, whatever. But at the end of the day, the argument of like, well, where were these people during the thing? A lot of them voted for Kamala. A lot of them voted for Kamala. The ones that didn't were some of them were Trumpers. Some of the people at these marches were originally Trumpers. There's tons of testimonies where people are, at least what I've seen online from people who have been speaking about the No Kings. They're like, I have family members, I got friends, I know people who were Trumpers and they were at these marches because their minds are getting changed. Now, is it a little too late to have done that because they waited until it affected them to really do anything? It's not too late, but it is a bit unfortunate that they couldn't make this decision before it hurt them. Um, but you've the, there's a lot of people that had their minds changed, whether they were third parties or they were sort of the centrist who voted for Trump, or some right-leaning people who are no longer desiring to vote for Trump.
Yeah,
So
you know what made me feel good when I read uh, uh, in the bylines of some of the Florida newspapers and on Florida news reports that with all the people that were at the march, there was no arrests.
yeah, yeah, and at New York. New York had zero arrests.
No, that's what I'm talking about in New
Oh, I
York.
thought you were talking about I thought you were talking about Florida.
Oh, I don't know about
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah, New York had zero arrests. That's right. And oh, you getting a call?
Send it to voicemail. Okay.
Well, okay, okay. Um, yeah, New York had zero arrests. And, it's so funny because online. a lot of propagandists were going online and saying, "Oh, this clip is from last year. Oh, this clip is from 2016. Oh, this clip is from here," because they get paid to, they get paid for just views and stuff, so it's easy to spread those lies, um, and just make stuff up. But what's crazy is for months, right-wing online people claim that protesters are violent. Protesters are angry and aggressive, and it's projections because they were probably at the January 6th insurrection. Um, but they're claiming that the No Kings protest is violent, right? Mike Johnson and all these people, they're pro-Hamas, they're Antifa, violent people. Meanwhile, and they love to point fingers at, like, New York, Chicago, California, because they're blue states. New York had no arrests. New York had no arrests. And then people online afterwards were like, look at this. It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon and no one's here. Where's the protest? And everyone in the comments is like, you mean they peacefully left? They 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 did what they came to do. They protested, they made their statement, and then they left instead of storming a Capitol, instead of
And there was
breaking problems.
no gas, no gas used like in Chicago.
Right. But the point being is when it's done, when it's led by and pushed by mainly leftists, or left leaning, I should say, because they're not leftists, but left leaning. Notice the difference. Notice what happens. Notice how the Capitol didn't get stormed. No, notice how no one shat on the walls and stole memorabilia and flags and stuff from inside the Capitol. Notice how
Yeah,
people went for their protest and then went home peacefully.
yeah, that's the key word, peacefully.
So,
I wonder if any more marches are planned. That what I would
yeah,
like to
they're
see.
already planning a third one. There's
Yeah.
obviously stuff, there's always marches going on, and there's always protests going on that are more than just these major marches. Um, but you'd have to start looking into grassroots organizations, and you would have to come prepared, because there are people who protest outside of, like, immigration centers where they watch people get black vanned. They just get thrown into vans. So they protest outside these buildings. I love the lawnmower just rolled up right outside my window.
How long were
Um,
you there for?
Over an hour, because I showed up. I didn't show up like from the beginning or the start time, right? People were for it was going on for, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours. But I did. It started the path, or the length that they started was somewhere up in Times Square. I think I was only like a block or two off from the main point, and then it stopped around 14th or 13th.
Mhm.
Um,
And that you went there after your date with
before
Catherine.
before we got there, we got in early because I wanted to see it, and then we looked at some signs, read them because they're all really creative and funny, and then we got in and we started marching,
Okay.
and yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Now, uh, we're off the topic. I just want to say I have a solution to this lockout of not paying, money to people. Um,
What do you mean?
Government lockout, with
Oh,
Trump.
the shutdown. Yeah.
You shut down. I have a complete way of fixing this problem.
Okay.
Every day that there's a lockout, deduct $5,000 from the politician's salary.
Well, I got a better one for you. Politicians should be making no more than minimum wage.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic because
No, that's realistic. You as a state congressional member want to argue that the people in your state that you're supposed to represent only deserve 7.25 for minimum wage. Great. That's what you work for. You should be representing the state. So if you want to get paid more, you have to raise the payments for everyone else.
good idea. I like that better.
That's why I say that. Not to just be like, yeah, they should get paid less. It's because if you, Texas, or you, Minnesota, want to sit there and let your poorest workers suffer with the lowest pay, great,
Hmm.
cool. You get paid that as well. That reflects your efforts. And it would push away, and obviously like you can't do things like congressional trading like Nancy Pelosi, but
No, no, definitely not.
I know. But that in my opinion would be a great incentive because politics is not supposed to be what it is now, which is a way to make a lucrative job. It should not be extremely profitable. It's supposed to be about improving the lives of the people you represent.
I agree. I agree. So, with this in mind, this is kind of a short podcast. Did you have anything else you want to talk about?
Um, what was the thing that we were? Oh, yeah, I'll tell you this one real quick because we're talking about the protest, we're talking about elections. Uh, I love when people try to claim that the 2020 election was stolen because there's just no evidence ever at all. Anyone who says or tries to claim like, "Oh my God, it was stolen," there was so the people who tried to investigate it, there was no evidence. And the only person who says it was is Trump and anyone and there's no backing information. That being said, the 2024 election has some interesting stuff going on. I've spoken about this a couple of times and I'll try and keep it brief. Rockland County, New York, they submitted files and investigations as early as like a week or two after the election because they claimed that something was wrong with the voting machines. They had precincts where, um, let's say, out of 1,000 people who voted, the Democratic congressional member at the state level uh, won unanimously. So out of 1,000 people who voted in that precinct, it was something like 700 who voted blue. Yet the presidential election in that same precinct had 0 to 10 votes for Kamala Harris. 0 to 10.
And
Like,
she's and they still won the New York.
right. They still won New York, but the point is multiple precincts in Rockland County reported that despite the left-leaning congressional member winning unanimously, the right-leaning president was voted for, on top of the fact that it wasn't even a close or even split. It was like 500 for Trump and 1 vote for Kamala, or 0 votes. That happened multiple times, and that was found in outside of Rockland County, that was found in 5 or 6 other states. But the ones who are actively investigating and reporting it are, from what I remember, Pennsylvania and Nevada. But the fact that it was found in those states, let alone, even if it was just New York, the fact that it happened in multiple precincts during the same election with so little votes for Kamala Harris, it is mathematically a statistical impossibility. It's something like a 0.00301% chance for this to have happened in Rockland County, in Pennsylvania, in Nevada, and in these other states.
Something wasn't kosher.
So, that being said, they've been fighting with the courts, not the courts, the people who are defending this somehow and saying that it's fine. Um, they want a hand recount and for those precincts. And they're waiting for the court to rule because the opposition just tried to submit a dismissal. So they're waiting for the judge to rule on that. Since then, where was it? It was, oh God, this is gonna Minnesota. No, not Minnesota. Son of a. Hold on, give me 1 second. Because I was just doing research on this recently because it was for a video that I was doing. Um, 2 or 3 states are submitting their investigations, uh, or investigating and planning to submit it to a court where they found that when they had in their state precincts that were counted by hand with ballots were Democratic, and precincts that were counted by machine were incrementally more Republican. And based on some math, some like significant algorithm that they use that's used internationally, they said there's some red flags here. Additionally, they found that when on these voting machines, so on the voting machine specifically, for whatever reason, consistently, Republicans were winning, but Republicans were consistently losing through hand ballots, hand counted ballots, not mail in, hand counted. Okay.
Mhm.
Then they found within the machine voting that anytime the turnout, the voter turnout, reached 60% or higher, the disparity between red and blue votes incrementally got larger. And it was consistent through every time there was a machine counted set of votes where the voter turnout was over 60%. 60%, from 60% to like 70%, it would incrementally bump up by a certain number. And then from 70 to 80, it would incrementally bump up. And I was reading an article and they show you the graphs and they show you some of the examples that they found. Again, it's a pattern. It's a pattern that's showing in multiple precincts that are concerning. And the other one that I was also discussed. This was the one I was trying to remember from the beginning. Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, and one other place had 150% voter turnout. More people voted than registered to vote.
Okay.
More people voted. There were more votes than there was registered voters in Miami-Dade and Palm Beach and one other place that I don't think I wrote down. Um, and these are all occurrences that are recognized internationally as election red flags. And so I'm not going to sit here in tinfoil hat and shout to the heavens, it was stolen. But I am going to follow these because for the 4 years that all the GOP members and MAGA and everyone said, oh, the election was stolen, not a single person can provide any actual evidence at all. At all. Uh, so far, this is a lot of evidence in my book. In my
Oh,
book,
well,
this
listen,
is a lot of evidence. Multiple counties in Miami have voter turnouts of over 100%. One of the precincts in Miami had 172% voter turnout. Um,
we'll
meaning,
see what happens. Yeah, they'll probably, if they find anything, it'll probably be right before the next election.
yeah, maybe. And I've noticed also that Rockland County is currently the only one who's actually in court for um what I said about the no votes for Kamala, but a lot of votes for the blue congressional member. There's multiple states that have found this to be an issue, but Rockland County is currently the only one fighting it in court, and I believe that's because they're all sort of waiting with bated breath because if Rockland County, excuse me, loses, they're probably going to expect to lose as well. So they're all just holding their breath and waiting to see what happens to Rockland County. As for the what's happening in Minnesota, in Miami, and wherever the other one is, it's Miami, Minnesota, and oh, Rockland County was the other one. Yeah. Miami, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, and Minnesota, the with the voting machine disparity, the difference of votes and what's going on over there and the voter turnout. That is only recent to my knowledge. So I assume they are going to bring that to court when they have more evidence to present to it. But yeah, I always like to, I wanted to bring that up because we were talking about the protest and talking about what all of that is. But
Okay. I want to tell you something humorous to
oh
get
yeah.
off the topic. So I think we spoke about it the other day. Um, I to me, history repeats itself. And I'm watching on YouTube Donald Trump Jr. hawking gold, hawking gold. And this reminds me of Trump University, Trump Water, Trump Steaks. Uh, what were some of the other things that Trump hawked?
He recently did his Trump watch.
Trump Watch. And all of them went into the crapper.
Yeah.
And to me, um, I read, and I don't believe everything I read, but supposedly his wealth has increased on the sidelines from his family doing what they're doing from 5 billion to 10 billion
Yes.
dollars.
Yes. That's not a
Yeah,
that's not an
so
exaggeration.
I find that humorous because people still fall for this.
I know.
Um,
It's
and
extraordinary what people will purchase because they are uh
and it
infatuated with this man. I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah, it's like the Trump phone. I don't know if we spoke about that months ago. He was trying to
yeah,
release a phone because the tariffs were coming out when he first announced the tariffs, and he was going to put tariffs on chips and crap like that. He
yeah, and it
claimed
has
he was
nothing
going
to
to.
do it has nothing to do with the presidency. It's all private.
Yeah, well, no. So he has licensed his name is a business. So when we say Trump phone or Trump steak, it's not him. He's technically not selling it. It's his name. His name, the name Trump is a business, an entity that he made whatever, like 30, 40 years ago, something, whatever. And he sells everything through that. Now, he technically doesn't run it. He's not the runner of it. Someone in his family does, or someone close to him does. And then the money comes to him from there. That's how he's been doing it for decades. But that's why. So whenever you hear Trump phone, Trump steak, Trump watch, it's technically not Trump the individual. It's Trump the business entity. But it's him. Like it's the offshore account where the money goes before it comes to his, before it's wired to him.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I have nothing else. I mean, uh, I'm sure that a lot of things are going to happen over the next 2 weeks for our next podcast. Do you have anything else?
Um, there's always stuff to talk about. No, I don't have anything at this moment.
Okay.
I think,
So I know you
um,
got a busy day today. Um, I think we can conclude if
yeah,
you
no, I think that's good. I think we'll see you soon if anything massive and major happens. If the market collapses for the 19th time because he announces new tariffs or some crap like that, we can always make an episode early.
yeah.
Until then, peace out.
Peace out, everyone. Be well.